I gave my unemployed stepbrother a high-paying job and free money. In return, he harassed me for months and tried to get me fired, not knowing that was his last chance to be nice. I, 31M, never wanted to be the kind of guy who turns his back on family, even when they've already turned theirs on me 1,000 times over. Growing up, I always felt like I had a one-sided obligation to be the bigger person. My mom remarried when I was 11. That's when my stepbrother, Tyler, came into the picture. Loud, angry, impulsive. We were the same age, but he carried this chip on his shoulder the size of a cinder block. Tyler wasn't evil or anything back then, just broken in ways I didn't know how to fix. His dad, my stepdad, was tough on him, borderline abusive when he drank, and my mom always tried to keep the peace by making me bend. So I did. For years. I gave him rides when he got suspended from school. I covered for him when he'd sneak out. I even let him copy off my homework just so he wouldn't throw another tantrum and make the house a war zone. We lost touch after high school. He spiraled: drugs, petty arrests, kicked out of 2 community colleges, and eventually burned bridges with most of the family. I graduated, got a degree, and eventually landed a job in tech. Stable life, good income. I wasn't rich, but I was doing all right. I hadn't seen Tyler in almost 7 years when he messaged me on Facebook out of nowhere last year. Just a simple, "Hey man, I need help." Against every instinct, I answered. He'd been couch surfing, said he was getting clean, and wanted a fresh start. I don't know if it was guilt or nostalgia or just my dumb optimism, but I believed him. I offered him my couch for a month, paid for his food, took him to job interviews. And when those didn't pan out, I did something stupid. I vouched for him at my company. I knew it was a risk. My company's small, 40 employees, tight-knit, referral-heavy culture. But we had a warehouse admin job open, and I figured if I personally trained him, kept him close, he couldn't mess it up. It paid $28 per hour with benefits, and I got him in. I even advanced him $1,000 from my own account to help him get on his feet. That was the last chance he didn't know he was getting. The first 2 weeks were fine. He showed up on time, worked hard, and seemed genuinely grateful. He'd make jokes like, "You saved my ass, bro." And for the first time in years, I thought maybe we could actually rebuild something. Maybe this was one of those stories people tell about redemption. But then little things started to change. He began showing up late. Not by much, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. Then he'd forget to clock out or claim overtime he didn't earn. I warned him gently at first. He brushed it off. Said, "Don't worry, man. I got this." Then the rumors started. One of my coworkers, a woman in HR I've worked with for years, told me Tyler had been making weird comments in the break room. Stuff like, "My stepbro thinks he's better than everyone just 'cause he got me in here," or "Nepotism's wild, huh?" First, I laughed it off. Just awkward social adjustment, right? Then came the passive-aggressive remarks in Slack. He'd leave snide reactions to things I posted. He joked to another new hire that I was some diversity hire who lucked into management. That one pissed me off. I'm biracial, and I worked hard as hell to get where I am. When I confronted him, he flipped it, said I was overreacting, and that I couldn't take a joke. He always did that. Made you feel crazy for not laughing at being disrespected. It was like watching a slow-motion car crash. And I was in the driver's seat, hoping the airbags would save us both. The final straw, though, didn't come with words. Came with paperwork. Someone, anonymously, submitted a formal HR complaint about me. Said I was engaging in unethical favoritism, creating a hostile work environment, and mismanaging inventory, of all things. Only 3 people had access to the logs they cited. Me, my direct report, and Tyler. When HR pulled me into the room with the file, my stomach turned. It was so detailed. He knew just enough about the systems to make his lies sound believable. I asked if they knew who submitted it. They didn't say, but one of the HR leads looked at me, and I'll never forget this, with a mix of pity and apology. That was the moment I realized Tyler wasn't trying to start over. He was trying to replace me. I didn't sleep the night I got pulled into that HR meeting. Just laid there staring at the ceiling, playing every interaction with Tyler back in my mind like a highlight reel of regret. I kept asking myself, how the hell did I not see this coming sooner? The next morning I did what I always do. I went to work, put on the everything's fine mask, and tried to do my job. But I could feel it. The tension. The looks. HR said they weren't treating the complaint as a formal investigation yet, but there was a mark on my back now, invisible maybe, but heavy. I didn't want to accuse Tyler outright. Not without proof. So I started watching. Quietly. Carefully. I pulled old Slack messages. I noticed he'd been messaging people I didn't even know he was close to. I talked to one guy in the warehouse, new kid, started 2 weeks before Tyler. He looked uncomfortable the second I brought up my name. Said, yeah, Tyler, he kind of implied you were, not really qualified to be our supervisor. Said you got promoted because the company needed a certain image. An image. He was going full scorched earth. I checked the inventory logs he referenced in the HR complaint. Sure enough, someone had altered them. Badly, I might add, like he didn't expect anyone to look too closely. I cross-referenced timestamps with our internal security footage. I work closely with IT, so I have some limited access. Boom. There he was, on the night in question, sitting at my station, typing into the system. Alone. I screenshotted everything. Logged it. Printed a copy for myself, just in case. That weekend I went home and just sat with it. The betrayal didn't just sting. It seeped. You ever trust someone so deeply that when they hurt you, it doesn't feel like pain, it feels like shame? Like you should have known better? That was me. I walked around my apartment feeling humiliated in my own damn skin. I thought about my mom. About how she always told me he's your brother. He's had a harder life. Be patient with him. I'd been patient for 3 decades. And this was how he paid me back. That Monday, I went into the office early. Sat at my desk. Tyler came in half an hour later, sipping a gas station coffee like he didn't just try to ruin my entire career. He had the nerve to nod at me and say, "What's up, bro?" I stood up. Office. Now. He laughed. What? I said now. So we went into an empty conference room. I shut the door behind us. My hands were shaking, but my voice came out steady. You filed a fake HR complaint against me. He blinked. What? I've seen the logs. I've seen the camera footage. You sat at my terminal and doctored reports. Long pause. Then, as expected, the gaslight phase kicked in. You're being paranoid, man. I slid the screenshots across the table. His face tightened when he saw the one from the security cam. Caught red-handed. He leaned back in the chair. No apology. Just the smug little shrug. You thought you were untouchable, he said, eyes cold. Just because you got me this job doesn't mean I owe you shit. You owe me everything, Tyler, I said, voice shaking now. I fed you. Housed you. Got you a job you didn't deserve. And instead of proving everyone wrong, you decided to come for me. He scoffed. You always thought you were better. This was me evening the scales. I could have punched him. Right there. I've never wanted to hit another person so badly. But I didn't. Instead, I walked out. Straight to HR. I laid it all out. The screenshots. The altered logs. The footage. The verbal slander. I told them that if they didn't act on this, I would escalate it to the board and legal. 2 days later, he was terminated for misconduct and falsifying records. No severance. No references. Nothing. He left the office without saying a word. Just walked past my desk like I was invisible. I thought I'd feel relief. But all I felt was hollow. Because no matter how much he tried to hurt me, no matter how justified I was in getting him fired, he was still my brother. Or at least he used to be. After Tyler was fired, I expected things to settle down, like maybe the storm had finally passed. But what I didn't expect was how lonely the quiet would feel afterward. You ever cut someone out of your life, even when they deserve it, and it still feels like you just lost a limb? That was me. Every morning I'd wake up, brew my coffee, check my inbox, and instinctively brace myself for one of his dumb Slack messages. A meme, a dig, a yo bro, can you approve my hours? And when it didn't come, that's when it hit me. It wasn't just that he tried to destroy me. It's that I let him in. Again. The worst part? He didn't go quietly. 2 days after he got canned, my mom called. I stared at her name on my screen for a full minute before picking up. I heard what you did, she said. Not what he did. What I did. I bit the inside of my cheek so hard I tasted blood. What I did was protect myself, Mom. From your son. The same one who's been burning every bridge he walks across since he was 15. She didn't want to hear it. Of course she didn't. She went on about how Tyler had been through so much, how he was finally getting his life together, and I'd ripped it away. He was trying, she said. You didn't have to ruin him. Trying? I nearly yelled. He tried to get me fired. He falsified records, tried to smear my name, and you want me to feel bad. There was a long pause. Then she said the line I'll never forget. I just thought family meant more to you than a job. That broke me in a way I wasn't ready for. Because I wanted to scream back, no, Mom, it wasn't just a job. It was my name, my career, my stability. It was the one thing I built without anyone's help, not yours, not his. Mine. But I didn't say that. I just hung up. For days after, I walked around in a fog. Work felt weird. Some people in the office avoided talking to me, not because they believed Tyler's lies. HR had made a brief internal statement that he'd been terminated for policy violations, nothing more, but because drama clings to people. And I was now the guy with a story attached to him. Worse still, I started hearing that Tyler was talking. Not just to family, but to mutuals. Saying I'd stabbed him in the back. That I was always the golden boy and had turned corporate. That I'd never wanted him to succeed. I lost 2 childhood friends over it. People I hadn't seen in years messaged me things like, man, couldn't you have helped him instead of tossing him under the bus? They didn't know the real story. They just knew what he told them. And the real kicker? He started a GoFundMe. Yeah. Claimed he was wrongfully terminated and needed support to get back on his feet after betrayal by someone close. It didn't go viral or anything, but a few $100 trickled in. Enough to piss me off. I didn't respond publicly. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. I typed and deleted paragraphs. I imagined exposing everything, the theft, the lies, the screenshots, all of it. But in the end, I realized something. You don't win by shouting into the void. You win by moving on. That was the start of my healing. Not forgiveness, I'm nowhere close to that. But release. I stopped answering my mom's texts. Stopped reading the group chat. I took 2 weeks off work and went upstate, stayed in a cabin by myself. No phone, no laptop, just me in silence. The first 3 days I felt like I was losing my mind. I'd grown so used to chaos that peace felt like withdrawal. But eventually, the noise faded. I sat by the lake one night with a notebook and wrote a letter to myself. Not to Tyler. Not to my mom. To me. It said, you didn't fail. You set a boundary. And someone's reaction to a boundary is not your responsibility. I cried after writing that. Ugly, deep, snotty sobbing like something inside had finally unclogged. When I came back to work, I was different. Calmer. Stronger. But also harder. There's a layer of trust in me that died with this. I don't know if I'll ever give that kind of chance to anyone again. And that's the real price of betrayal, not the damage they do in the moment, but the parts of you they ruin forever. It was about 6 weeks after he got fired when Tyler came back. And I mean that literally back to my door. It was a Thursday night. I'd just gotten home from work, exhausted from another long day, kicked off my shoes and was halfway into microwaving leftovers when I heard it, 3 quick knocks on the door. Not the kind of knocks you hear from delivery people or neighbors. It was that knock. The one that says, yeah, you better answer. I opened the door and there he was. Tyler. His hoodie was stained, eyes bloodshot, and he had that wired energy I remembered from back when he was at his worst. Like his body was moving faster than his mind could catch up. Hey, he said, casual, like we hadn't gone nuclear. I didn't say a word. Just stared at him. Waiting. He scratched the back of his neck. Look, man. I'm in a rough spot. I stepped outside, closed the door behind me. You've got 2 minutes. He blinked, maybe surprised I didn't slam the door in his face. Maybe not surprised enough. Okay. I know I screwed up, all right? I was angry and I said some shit I shouldn't have. But I'm trying now, man. For real. Got a part-time gig at a vape shop, trying to line up housing, but I need help. There it was. I need help. Like clockwork. Help? I asked, deadpan. Like that job you flushed? The one I put my name on for you? That help. He sighed. I messed up, I know. But you know how I get, man. It wasn't personal, eh? You tried to destroy me, Tyler, I snapped, my voice rising in my own chest. You tried to get me fired, slandered, erased. That's not a mess up. That's war. He looked down at his shoes. Yeah. I was jealous. You always had it together. The job, the apartment, people who actually respected you. And I was the loser again. I couldn't take it. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was so predictable. That wounded pride twisted into poison. The same Tyler from 10, 15, 20 years ago. Always needing saving. Always hating the hand that fed him. I gave you your last chance, I said quietly. You burned it. You don't come back from that. He looked up at me, a flash of that old rage behind his eyes. So that's it? After all we've been through? You're just done. No, I said. You were done the moment you decided to knife me in the back. He shifted his weight, and for a second I thought he might swing at me. It wouldn't be the first time. But instead he spit on the ground and muttered, "You always thought you were better than me." I didn't answer that. Didn't need to. I just stepped back and shut the door in his face. He didn't knock again. The days after that were weirdly quiet. Almost eerie. No more random texts. No more slander from mutuals. It was like he'd vanished. My mom tried to reach out a few times, saying things like, "He's struggling," or "He regrets everything." I blocked her for a while too. Because I realized something: I can't keep saving people who are holding matches behind their backs. It's not that I wanted revenge. I didn't need him to suffer. But I needed distance. I needed peace. I needed the kind of life where I didn't have to look over my shoulder or check my messages with a knot in my gut. I heard through a cousin that Tyler ended up crashing on a friend's couch across town. Rumors floated that he tried to sue the company for wrongful termination and was laughed out of the attorney's office. Apparently, even they saw through his bullshit. He faded. Not out of existence, but out of mine. That was enough. I started going to therapy after that. Not just because of Tyler, but because of what I let happen. The patterns. The guilt. The belief that it was my job to fix broken people. My therapist said something that hit me like a truck. Sometimes, love means closing the door and locking it. I think about that a lot. You don't realize how much someone warped your life until they're finally gone from it. After Tyler's last visit, I didn't feel triumphant. There was no slow clap victory moment. Just a weird, numb silence. Like walking out of a burning building and realizing your skin doesn't hurt because the burns are deeper than that. For weeks I kept expecting the next wave. Another call. Another lie. A new smear campaign. But it didn't come. It was like he'd vanished. At least from my life. And that silence? At first, it made me anxious. Because chaos had been my normal for so long, peace felt wrong. Like something was missing. But the thing is, sometimes what's missing is what was poisoning you. It was slow at first, the healing. I didn't wake up one day suddenly over it. But I started noticing small things. I was sleeping better. I wasn't checking my phone with dread every morning. I stopped rehearsing arguments in the shower. I was just living. Finally, I leaned into therapy hard. Not just for what Tyler did, but for why I let it happen, why I always let people like him in. Turns out, when you grow up being told that family is everything, you end up tolerating anything. You convince yourself that blood is thicker than betrayal, that loyalty means sacrificing your peace, that saying no makes you selfish. That's a lie. And I was done living by it. I started reclaiming my space. I rearranged my apartment. Bought a few things that made me feel good, not flashy, just mine. Took a solo trip to the coast. Sat on a beach with no signal, just listening to waves and writing. Not about him. Not even about the pain. Just writing. My own voice again, not warped through the lens of his bullshit. One night, I went through our old messages. Scrolled all the way back to that first, "Hey man, I need help." Read every "Thanks bro" and "You saved me" and watched it slowly curdle into resentment and spite. Then I deleted them all. Gone. And I cried. Not because I missed him. But because that version of me, the one who still hoped, who still believed, deserved better than what he got. My mom still hasn't really owned her part. She sends me little texts now and then. "Hope you're doing okay. Your cousin says you got promoted." No apology. No acknowledgement of how she enabled Tyler or how she made me feel like the villain for protecting myself. I haven't responded. Maybe one day I will. But I'm not there yet. And I don't owe anyone a timeline for my healing. A few weeks ago, one of my coworkers, someone who kept their distance during the drama, stopped by my desk. "You've been through some shit," they said bluntly. "But you carry it like someone who's done carrying it." That stuck with me. Because for the first time in a long time, I'm not carrying him anymore. Or the guilt. Or the shame. He handed me a grenade and called it a gift. And I finally stopped holding it. If you're reading this because someone close to you hurt you, a sibling, a parent, someone you loved, let me say this clearly. You are not responsible for their healing. You are not obligated to carry their chaos. And you don't owe forgiveness to someone who keeps using it as a free pass. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for yourself is walk away.